back to the Pot of Gold podcast. Today we're meeting with Creighton Bertrand. And today's guest is someone who knows what it means to break out of the good enough trap and push towards a life of real impact. Creighton is a certified high-performance coach who has helped thousands of top performers master their mindset, habits, and emotions so that they can stop self-sabotaging and finally create unstoppable momentum in their lives. Before becoming a coach, Creighton built a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio and walked away from a successful engineering career to pursue his true passion, helping entrepreneurs, leaders, and high achievers perform at their highest level without sacrificing what matters most. He's also the host of the High Performance Human podcast, where he shares raw, no-fluff strategies to help people break past their limits and stop settling for mediocrity. Creighton is known for his direct call-you-out style of coaching that gets people unstuck, strips away excuses, and challenges them to live with clarity, discipline, and purpose. Please welcome to our show, Creighton Bertrand. How are you doing today, Creighton?
Dude, I'm phenomenal. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so glad to hear that. I love having people on here to talk about their experience and their journey. And so I guess let's just get right into it. What was your journey like? Where'd you start? Where'd you go?
Well, I don't know how far back you want me to start. I can start, being in my mother's womb, coming out, or I can go into high school. I can go into college. You tell me where you think the gold is lying for our viewers today.
Well, I think that maybe that context might help if there were significant life events that happened in your childhood. But I do think that we're focused on entrepreneurship and what leads you to that route, you know?
Okay. So I guess I'll just do kind of a high level. High school was quote unquote smart in high school, or so I thought. I think I graduated 3.98 GPA, went into college to realize that I actually wasn't as smart. So that was really hard on my ego and identity, from going to being a straight A student to going into a university, going into engineering, and finding out I was a C and I had to work really hard to get a B. So that was really, really tough to make that transition. Then I got my engineering degree in mechanical engineering. I wanted to do prosthetics. I went and did prosthetics for a couple years, and I wasn't making the money that I wanted. So I shift from being led with having a purpose of wanting to help and serve others to I just wanted more money. And I found money when I got a job down in California in aerospace. And I did that for about 13 years of chasing money, thinking that money was what I wanted, just to get the money that I was looking for, to find out that it was empty and meaningless. And so it was maybe 5 years ago now that I quit my engineering job to pursue what I do now, which is serving as a high performance coach for others, so that they don't make the same mistakes that I did, where you could literally have everything and feel like you have nothing.
It's an interesting thing, huh? Yeah, I like the fact that you said that you thought you were really smart and then reality kind of checked you, because that's kind of how I ended up in entrepreneurship myself. I told my wife one night, I thought I used to be the smartest person in the room whenever I was in the room with other people. And I'm starting to realize that if I was actually smart, I'd understand how business works. I'd also understand how to interact with people better. And it was an ego check for me as well when I finally realized, hey, I'm not where I wanted to be. If I was smart, I'd be in the place I wanted to be.
And what's the place that you want to be?
I want to be making an impact amongst other people, have the resources to be able to help them also be successful. And it's all about connections and making other people's lives better.
Do you feel like you're not making an impact? I mean, just us having this conversation and me and being around you.
Everything got started.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
That was where I was at. Not so much now. I feel like I've had more of an enriched and fulfilled life than ever before. This has been a really good journey for me.
Isn't that crazy when you actually pursue something that you want, how it changes everything?
Yeah, it's been kind of wild. But I definitely can relate to that. So I was also in aerospace manufacturing. I'm a CNC machinist. That's what I do. So I'm curious to
kudos to you.
What kind of aerospace you're involved with?
Yeah. So it's funny, actually, going back to my appreciation for machinists and the mechanics out there. My senior project, we had to build this formula SAE race car. So it had a 600cc engine in it, and it went 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. So it was just crazy, so fun. But when we're designing it, we designed it in CATIA. And, obviously being this typical stupid engineer, he designed it with no tolerance because I can machine this. Like, how hard could it be? And so the team that I was on, it was the chassis. So we had to make the chassis from scratch. So we design in CATIA, it's all perfect. And then we go down to make the jig to locate, the attachment points and to start bending the chassis and all this. And so I go down there, and I've done a little bit of machining. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to do mechanical engineering, is because we got to build stuff, and I always like to be hands-on. So I'm out there and I'm on the CNC machine, and we didn't have I forget what they're called, like a 3-axis, or we didn't have any automatic CNC. This was like a hand,
like a
manual CNC. Thank you. Yeah. So it's a manual CNC. So we're manually cutting these parts out. And so I cut them out, and then I go put them on where they're supposed to be. And then I start measuring, and I'm like, what? And then when I get done, I take my calipers and measure, the features and all my points. And I'm off by a lot, like over 1/4 inches on things. And I'm like, what? And so I throw the part away, and we were doing it all with aluminum. And so it's pretty spendy, I would assume, but at least it was easy to cut. So anyway, I can't tell you how many times we went through, and then we realized, like, oh my gosh, I can't machine these to 0 tolerance. Like I don't have the skill to do that. Or maybe it's the machine.
All kinds of variables, right? So like even the temperature in the machine shop that day can change how much tolerance you're getting. And so perfect in theory and mathematics, but
but it was one of the
way different than that.
Yeah, and so it was one of the best. So then I went back up to CATIA to the model, and I started to put in like a 10 thou at least tolerances and majority of this stuff, so that I could actually try to hit it, and then it would obviously change everything else. But it was so cool because doing that, not only designing the part, but then going to fabricate the part and then go install it was like the best thing that I could do as an engineer. Because then when I went and finally got into aerospace, when I was doing design, I knew, oh my gosh, like there's no way we could actually do this. And oh my gosh, how are they going to actually get a wrench up there to install this bolt? And so all these things kind of came to fruition because I struggled, and I could relate with the mechanics when they would always complain about the engineers. And I was like, yeah, I get it. Like, I don't know why most engineers aren't thinking about this stuff, but I guess if you've never tried to do it, you wouldn't understand.
It's an interesting thing because there's like definitely utility in compartmentalization and specialization in skills, but there's also utility in understanding how they cross over into one another.
Sure. And I think that's the same thing in everything in life, right? Yeah. You can be specialized in one thing, and there's value in that. But if you can't coexist or communicate or whatever with the rest of society or whatever, like what's really the good in that? To be isolated on an iceberg by yourself, to be the best and all this. Cool. And I remember that was kind of where I got, we can fast forward to wherever you want to go, but I remember when my wife and I were about to get a divorce, because again, our life, and it blew everybody away because our life was perfect. I was making 6 figures. I had, millions of dollars in real estate, and everyone saw our marriage as like, oh my gosh, these guys are so perfect on the outside. But on the inside, it was anything but, because I didn't know how to be emotional and I didn't know how to communicate. So I just would, I guess, I'm trying to think of the word, but I would just hold on to everything because I was good at
bottle it all up.
Yeah. I was trying to think of a word that starts with H, like harbor or something. But I would just hold on to everything, and I never knew how to talk to her about the things that I didn't like. And so every time that happened, it started to create resentment. And one time, it's not a big deal, but 7 years of never telling someone that you don't like what they do, like now there's no connection anymore. But I remember one time going and talking to a therapist and was talking about something, and I was like, yeah, I'm all this, and I do these things, and I'm this and this. And she goes, okay, cool. Like, awesome. You're amazing. And I'm like, thanks. Like, that's cool. Like, yeah, I agree with you. And she goes, how does it feel? And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, well, Creighton, you can keep going the way that you're going, and you're going to keep getting better because you love to improve. You love to do all this. But every single time you're doing this, you're separating yourself from other people. And let's fast forward 10, 20 years from now. You keep getting better and you keep escalating all this. You're going to be on an iceberg all by yourself because you're better than everyone else. You've done more things than anybody else. No one can relate. No one can even communicate with you. Is that really what you want? I was like, well, I don't really care about other people. Like that. Who cares? She goes, what about your children? And I just lost it. And I was like, that's the last thing that I want. I don't want my kids to feel like they can't relate and that they don't want to talk to me. So that's when I started to change everything in my life. I was like, and I got to this point, and I think a lot of us, especially males, get to this of, I was 30, and at 30, I had a decent amount of life experience that I was like, this is just who I am. I'm someone that pushes himself. I'm someone that doesn't express emotions, doesn't even know what emotion, it doesn't even care. Like emotions is for like wimps and babies. Like I do hard things. And the only way I do hard things is I suppress my emotions so that I can do the hard thing. Like I don't feel like waking up early. I don't feel like doing this. Good. I'll do it anyway. I don't need to deal with feelings. I'll just push those aside. And so anytime a feeling comes, I just push it away, which is great for going out and doing hard things and pushing yourself actually physically in sports and all this, which I was always really good at. But by doing that, you kind of turn into this robot. At 30, I was just like, this is just who I am. And it's worked in my life. I've achieved a lot of stuff. I've done a lot of things because I can suppress my emotions and I don't even care what they are at this point anymore. I'm numb to them, that I'm fine. Like, this is just the way my life's going to be. And it wasn't until my wife's like, hey, I'm leaving, that I was like, good, man. And if it's so sad to say this because I was and I'll be honest, like I was such a coward. I needed her to walk away because I was too much of a coward to be the one to be labeled for the failure. But if she came to me and said, hey, I'm leaving, perfect. She's my cop out. It's her fault. She's the one that said she wanted to leave. And so at that point, that's when I started to kind of do some of this work. Like I was saying, at 30, I just was so familiar with this is just who I was. This is just how my life was going to be, that it wasn't until I could do it for somebody else. So for me, this is who Creighton was. This is what he does. And I was like, I'll just continue my life this way. And I remember I'm so grateful for my therapist was like, well, Creighton, like, what about your daughter? And I was like, what do you mean about my daughter? And she goes, well, do you want her to feel the way that you feel? And I was like, I will do anything in my power so that no one ever has to feel the way that they feel about themselves the same way that I feel. And she goes, well, that's great, Creighton. Like, you could tell your daughter she's amazing and she's all this, but she's going to see how you treat yourself, how you deal with emotions, and she's going to start to become that. And I was like, I will do anything in my power to prevent that. So I couldn't do it for me originally. I was doing it. My daughter's name's Kyla. I was doing it for Kyla. But the coolest thing, this is what I love about everything that I've studied about love and anger and emotions and all this. Like, by loving her so much, I did it for her, but by me doing it for her, it eventually got to a point where I actually started to love myself. Craziest thing. Like, I never did it to, oh, I want to love myself. Like, I want to be happy. Like, it was like, no, I want to be there for her, to give her what she needs. And by giving her what she needs, it gave me what I needed and allowed me to love myself. And the craziest thing for anyone out there that thinks that they love someone else, if you don't love yourself, there's no way that you're actually loving this other person the way that's actually possible, because you think you're doing a good job. And this is what I used to think, like, oh my gosh, I'm doing so good at loving my daughter. I'm doing so good at loving my wife. But if you don't know what that thing actually feels like, if you can't actually experience it, there's no way you can actually give it to someone else.
No frame of reference.
Yeah, 100%. And so until I started to learn how to love myself, and once I did that, it's like now I have so much to give. Whereas before, I literally had an empty cup.
No, for me, I was hollow. Like, I struggled a lot with self-worth, right? To the point where even when I contemplated ending my own life, there was a couple times or a couple things that prevented me from doing that. The first one was that I love my mom. And I wouldn't want to do that to her. And the second one is I didn't think I deserved the release of death.
Wow.
That I deserved to stay
That's real
here and
hatred.
be punished and feel the
Yeah.
pain of not feeling worthy.
Wow.
And so that's not a very good reason to stay, but it did keep me here.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I kind of pulled out of what you're telling your story about was that we identify and become the things we repeatedly do.
Identify and become
because you
things.
kind of adopted this personality or this persona when you're 30. This is just the way I am because of all the things you'd repeatedly done in the past.
I didn't know any different.
Enabled you to change was to start doing different things.
Agreed, 100%. But it's choosing that whatever you were doing isn't working and it isn't enough. I mean, this is something that I always have to do in coaching with anyone is like, if you don't want to change, then we have nothing.
Yeah.
Until you decide. And this is another reason why I love to study addiction. Addiction's the same thing. Like you can take someone to a halfway house or any rehabilitation center or whatever, but if they don't choose to actually change, their odds of success is literally zero because they don't want it.
Yeah, that identity keeps you from permanent change. Because you can kind of play and go through the motions for a while, but that identity draws you back towards it because you haven't made the decision you want to be a different person.
Well, you're not willing to, I mean, even Tony Robbins talks about this a lot. It's not the fear of the thing, it's the fear of letting go of something. And I think that's the biggest issue. You're not ready to let go and to really say that this doesn't work yet. Because the addict or the person that's addicted, they're like, well, it's really not that big a deal. Or like, it's not that, like, they're not willing to say, yeah, this is a problem. I'm willing to let this go. They continue. Like, I mean, I'm pretty spiritual, and like all of our sin is like we always justify that. Well, you know, it didn't really mean this, and like, well, I think God would understand, and we do all this stuff. Yeah, exactly. And that's the biggest thing is we have to, in everything in my coaching always comes down to, we have to have clarity. You need to define who do you want to be? What is it that you're doing for? Like if you have clarity, now there's not going to be confusion. But most of us don't have clarity of what we're going to do today, what we're going to try to be, like what do we really want for our goals? Like who do we want to be as a husband? Who do we want to be as a father? So then whenever something comes up, we literally are confused. We don't have any certainty. We don't have any clarity. So whenever something comes up, what do? We do the worst thing that we can do as humans is we say, what do I feel like? Well, I don't feel like waking up early. I don't feel like doing this. I feel. We go to our body. We go to our flesh to decide our actions. 100%. And then we do that so many times that now we start to believe, well, that's just who I am. I'm just a creature that feels. No, you're so much more.
I learned something from, I think it's Andrew Huberman. He talked about what's called the anterior midcingular cortex, which is actually a section in your brain that either increases in size or shrinks depending on your reaction to hard things.
100%.
If you lean into doing hard things, it grows bigger. If you shy away from them, it shrinks. And so you literally either enable yourself to do harder things or you weaken yourself and makes it harder to do it the next time.
Yeah. And they actually they're starting to do a lot of study on this, and some of the data is starting to prove, which is really cool, that they're associating this to the will of life, that there's some people that are in the hospital and they look like they're healthy, but that part of their brain has atrophied and is really small. So they've literally lost the will to live, which is so crazy. And the other thing in addition to that, and you probably know this, but I think it's important to share for people, is you have to, in order for this part of your brain to continue to grow and not atrophy and shrink, you have to keep doing things that are hard. So, and the worst thing about it is you could do something that's hard and now it becomes easy. And as soon as it's easy, it starts to reverse. And this is why a lot of people like to do the cold showers, because no matter how many times you've done cold showers, it's always hard. Yeah. But waking up early or going to the gym, eventually it starts to become easier. And as soon as it becomes easier, we start to retract on that part of your brain. But that's why, I mean, if anyone wants, and I'm going to do this plug out there, that if anyone wants to do the ultimate hard thing, like I think it's commendable. People are trying to do hard things. Like I want to push myself to, do an ultra marathon, or I want to push myself to do cold plunges. I want to push myself to do something physical. That's great. But realistically, it's still pretty selfish. It's all about you. I think the ultimate hard thing is to try to walk in the footsteps of Jesus or do what the Bible actually tells you to do. Like, it's not possible. There's no way that you can do that. You're never going to actually achieve that thing. So for all these people that say, I do hard, go do that. That is literally the hardest things that we can do as human. You're never going to actually achieve it. And if you keep doing that, this part of your brain is going to grow forever because you're never going to actually be able to do it enough.
Yeah. Well, it's because mastery is what's called an asymptote.
Mm-hmm.
What that is a curve that goes up towards a line that's stable, right? Which is the ideal of perfection. And it can get closer and closer and closer, but it never actually touches the line. And so in order to actually see the growth, you have to start magnifying over and over again and over and over again. And you can see the growth continuing, but it's never going to reach perfection.
100%. Yeah.
And I think it was really helpful for me to realize that perfection was actually a stalling tactic, that I wanted to just put it off forever because it wasn't going to be good enough. But that's not the point of the game.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people need to know that when they say that they want to master. Like, I don't think you really want to master, because if you're agreeing to the path of mastery, you're agreeing that you're never going to actually achieve the peak. And if you're not willing to get on the ride to never achieve the peak, then you may as well just quit now, because I guarantee in 2 or 3 years, you're going to eventually quit. And we can tie this back to like entrepreneurial journey and all that. Like, I wish someone would have done this with me as an engineer. Like, I wish someone would have said, hey, cool, you want to be an engineer? Yeah, I want the money. I want the success. I want the status. I need all this ego crap. Like, okay, cool. Let's fast forward. Let's say that you're an engineer for 10 years. Okay, cool. Where do you want to live? I want to live in Seattle. Okay, cool. You're in Seattle. Like, where do you want to live? I want to live by the water. Awesome. How much does a house by the water cost? Oh, it's probably a couple million. Okay, cool. Fast forward, if you're an engineer for 10 years, your salary is going to be 160. You're never going to get to that $2 million, $3 million house. Do you still want to pursue this? I would have said, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because it was so money driven. Whereas now with the coaching, someone's like, cool, if you do coaching, you can make infinite money. You can make millions of dollars. You could also make no money. Are you willing to do this even though you could be anywhere in that spectrum? Yeah, I'll do this for free. Oh, well, I don't need anything to do this. Like, this is just what I love to do.
It fills your cup.
100%. And when it fills your cup, you're willing to do it forever. But if you're only doing it, like, this is one thing I love to talk about people, like conditional goals. Are you only doing it under condition? I'm only going to do it if this. I'm only going to do it if it's easy. I'm only going to do it if it's fast. I'm only going to do it if I don't have to do a lot of work. I'm only going to do it if
90 days and then give up if I don't make any progress, kind of.
Yeah. And then I would just say, cool. Like, if we were doing coaching and someone said that, like, awesome, let's just quit now. Because after 90 days, if it does or if it doesn't, you're adding a condition to it. You don't want it bad enough. And that's totally fine, because I guarantee that there is something out there that you're willing to do it regardless. And the longer you stay hung up on this thing that you think that you want, and I would want to go deeper into what's going on in your mind of like, why do you want it? Are you doing it because this is what society tells you? Are you doing it because this is what other people, are you doing this to fill a void? Like, let's figure out, why do you want this thing? And if you can't answer that, I would caution you, because eventually you're going to get there. And I've dealt with, coaching millionaires of like, cool, they get to the thing and they didn't know why they really wanted it. And so when they get there, it's not enough. And then they get to the point where I was, where you have everything, but you feel nothing. And that's a scary place. Phelps talks about it. A lot of these professionals talk about it. We see what happened to Robin Williams, Heath Ledger, like these people that you think that once they got to the top, they'd be so happy. But the problem is they get to the top and that was their carrot. Once I get this, then it's going to work out. Once I get this, then I'll be happy. Once I get this, then and they get there and it's not. And now they have nothing else to shoot for. And so they lost all hope.
There wasn't any meaning behind it beyond that.
Yeah. And then once they get it, there's no other goal to go for. So they just become totally hopeless. And that's the scariest part. At least most of us can be like, okay, well, once I get to 100 or 2, okay, well, that wasn't enough. Once I get to 500, that will be it. But for these people that get to these high highs, there's no other high above it. And so they become totally hopeless and they just give up.
Yeah. I've achieved things before where I thought that the high of achievement would bring satisfaction, and then I obtained it and it was
dismal.
It was almost like ashes in your mouth because it didn't actually do anything for you.
It's because it's of the flesh, realistically. But yeah, 100%. It's like eating a donut. A donut tastes good for a moment, but then as soon as it's gone, it's gone. And that's where when we're serving ourselves and being selfish, it's all for the flesh. But when you serve for other people, like imagine the times that you've made an impact on other people or made someone feel love, like that stays around, it resonates.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So you were feeling hollow and unfulfilled in your engineering job, even though you had all these things. You finally realized that you needed to start loving yourself for your daughter and changing the way you're acting. How did you find what you wanted to do? What was the thing that led you to finding what lights you up?
Just followed my stupid emotions.
And the ones you thought were useless.
Yeah, the ones that I suppressed for so many years of my life. I mean, but if the funny thing is, and if I go back to when I was like 12, 13, and this is what I would challenge for a lot of people, like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what my purpose is. Go back to like before society, before life tried to poison you and tell you what it is that you should do, or before your ego started to poison you and say, I need this because then I'll feel like I'm enough, or I need this because then I'll be. Newsflash, you already are. And that's the problem, is wherever you go, there you are. And if you aren't changing yourself, even when you throw more money, more accolades, more accomplishments, once you get to that destination, you're still the same person. You haven't changed. So if you're depressed and miserable now, you're going to be depressed and miserable even when you achieve all these things. And a lot of people think happiness is some destination that you get to once you achieve, but happiness is a choice, and it's a practice that you have to do on a daily basis. Happiness isn't waiting for you on the other side of the pillow in 10 years or tomorrow. It's a choice that you make every single moment of every single day. Okay, I want to be happy. How do I do that? I have no idea, but I know that's something that I want. And then you start trying to find it.
That. I used to get so mad when people would tell me happiness is a choice.
Yeah.
Like if that was the case, I would choose it every time.
Yeah.
But
But you weren't. Wouldn't you agree that you weren't? You were choosing to focus on what sucked, what didn't work. You were choosing to continue to be I'm hope that you don't mind me saying, but like you were choosing to be a victim.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things that I had to learn for myself. People could tell me all the time, all the day long. 100%. And until I finally internalized the lesson, I guess you could say, I couldn't even accept the answer.
Yeah. And that's normal.
I mean, I was telling myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess going back to your question, like I was doing the engineering, I was making money, I had success, and it actually was funny. The reason that I quit my engineering is because, again, this goes back to how I said my wife was about to leave me, and because I was too big of a coward to go after what I actually believed in, which was like, oh, she's never going to be what I need. She's never, which just breaks my heart because she's everything. Like it's so sad. And this is where I want to do this to help other people, because there's so many other men that I know of. There's so many people that have everything in their life and they can't see it, that they're willing to throw it all away. The baby with the bathwater analogy. I literally, if I was left and was courageous enough, but luckily I was a coward at that moment, I would have left her. And she was so much more than what I saw. I was only choosing to see the negative. I was only choosing to see the bad. I didn't see all the other things that she was and that she is, because I couldn't see that in me. Like literally everything that we see in our life is just a projection of our own perception of self.
Yeah.
Because if I wasn't enough, I feel so bad for my wife, because she didn't stand a chance. The things that she had to endure because I didn't love myself and I was never enough. So if I was never enough, you can be sure as hell no one else in my life was going to be enough. So I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't successful enough. I wasn't. I didn't do this perfect. My body fat wasn't perfect. I wasn't. So that same perception of self is projection of everyone else. So whenever she did, oh, she's doing this, she could be better. She could. She never asked for any of that.
Yeah.
But that's all I did.
I don't know how true this is, but I feel like it's at least close to the mark, is that the people that annoy us or we don't like, the things we don't like about them are just reflections of the things we don't like about ourselves.
There's another good one that I heard of. What if your biggest enemy is actually your biggest hero? Meaning that person is there to save you, like that they're actually making you feel that way for a reason. And this is, given certain situations that have just happened in the world, which is crazy sad. But I think this is what happens to a lot of us is we think that our emotions are true. And because we feel a certain way and we don't know how to deal with those emotions, we lash out in a way that is unexcusable. And I think that's one of the biggest poisons that we have as humans is these emotions, which are amazing because they let you feel love. They let you experience life. Like they're so beautiful, but going untamed and unquestioned, they can be so toxic as in what we just saw recently, where people let their emotions dictate their actions and they justify, well, he made me feel this way. He made me feel, what?
Yeah.
What? Like, no, that's not how it's supposed to be.
I think it was Amber that was telling us that the number one trait of billionaires is that they have the ability to regulate their emotions better.
100% EQ, always.
And it's interesting to me because I actually had a situation, I'd say 3 or 4 years into my marriage, where I was going to school and I met another girl that I was attracted to. And I had naively thought in my head that once I had chosen the person that I wanted to be with, that I wouldn't be attracted to other
You would
people.
have no feelings. Yeah. They would just go away.
And so I had to wrestle with this thing for like 2 to 3 weeks, thinking that I was a terrible person because I was feeling these feelings. And I finally came to realize that just because you feel something does not mean you have to act on it. And that
What a
seems
crazy
really obvious
idea.
in retrospect, but I had to learn that firsthand through the experience that I went through.
But I think most of us aren't taught this in school. This is why I love the Bible and everything it talks about. Like it teaches you how to not give into temptation, not to give into the fleshly desires, like that you're so much more powerful than your stupid feelings. But most of us don't believe that. I feel this way, therefore it has to be true. Like we can go into the science of this. Like the only reason why you believe it's true is because you felt this way and you acted a certain way. And so your brain creates a neural pathway that says, win this. But if we did the exact opposite for a while, at some point, you're going to be like, when I feel this, I just don't do it. So therefore, I know I'm someone that doesn't react.
I like that. It's really useful for people to know. It's also, I think, a measure of human progress across the ages is that we don't just go out and kill people when they are different from us right away. We have made progress along the way.
I mean, I feel like we did at some point, but I feel like this day and age, I'll go on my soapbox that I feel like are so divided. And as soon as someone disagrees, we automatically demonize them because it makes us feel a certain way. And I don't know how to deal with that feeling. So I need to get rid of that person, because literally, like, we make it so that they're not human, where there's no connection.
Yeah, you're right.
Because you wear green hat and I hate green hats, I can't see that you are a human that actually cares about me. I've automatically associated that someone that wears a green hat is someone that's soulless and he's just out to kill me.
One of those lessons that each generation has to learn anew.
Yeah. But to me, I just would want to go into, if I could have one wish, it would be to go into schools and teach people about emotions.
Yeah.
Like that's it. How to overcome your emotions, how to choose your response instead of just reacting to everything. Because as soon as you can do that, like now you get to enjoy all of the human experience. But if you're going through life and you have an emotion and you don't know how to deal with it because you've never been taught how to deal with it, then you just go through letting these emotions dictate your whole reality. I'm hungry, I have to eat. I'm this, therefore I have to. I'm this, so I have, like, none of that's true.
The things that help me learn more about controlling or regulating my emotions is actually exercise.
Yeah, for sure.
I've practiced that bodily discipline and showing up even on the days I do not feel like working out. That's helped me understand how to apply that in other aspects of my life. And I think that's really useful to know.
I agree. I think that the one that's even above that is meditation, stillness.
Okay.
Because it's easier, especially depending on your personality and your body type and all this, it's really easy for us to take action and do something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it's so much harder for us to do nothing because it builds up so much more energy internally.
Oh, interesting.
Because if you're able to do that, because when you do stillness, you're not only left with, because at least with exercising, I don't feel like it, but at least your body's moving. So it gets to dissipate some of that energy. But when you do stillness, you're stuck with your mind and your body both fighting you, which is literally what an emotion is. You get an emotion and it's literally just an electrical stimulation inside your body. And so you're going to feel like being angry. You're going to feel like doing something. Your body wants to do something and your mind's bringing in a story saying, yes, you're justified in doing this. Go do that. But when you do meditation, you're saying, my mind and my body are going in timeout and they're going to fight me, but I'm choosing to keep them in timeout, which is the biggest thing that we can do when I get mad at you for wearing a green hat. I'm so mad. I just want to. I've been practicing making my mind and body stay still while I listen to someone else. I'm not an animal. I don't have to react. I can choose my response.
I like that. It makes me think of this phrase that I'd heard from the older generation: learn to be bored.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're so, again, it goes back to us not knowing how to deal with feelings. I feel anxious. I feel like I need to be stimulated. Me, I.
I think that's really useful. Thank you, Creighton. I have to start implementing some of those things. That's interesting.
Yeah, try it. It's so hard. Again, and that's the thing is go through your life and notice the things that are the hardest and start to ask yourself why. Because I guarantee that the version that you are capable of becoming is waiting for you on the other side of that. And that was it for so many things in my life. I don't have emotions. I'm this. And I'm like, well, what would it be like if I actually did have emotions? Like, let me go try that out. And so many things in my life have been similar. I doubt it. And so I go try it. Like, so when I was in engineering, we had to do some chemistry classes. And when I was in chemistry, I was like, this is the stupidest things, atoms and molecules. Like, I don't believe any of this. So I was like, cool. Well, when in doubt, check it out. So let me go do more chemistry. So I took an extra year of OChem just to get more experience and more. So I stayed curious instead of just certain. And I think that's such a big thing for us to have as a human experience. Anyway, so I did OChem and I was like, oh, I guess these chemistry thing is actually real, that there really is atoms and all that. And so anytime I doubt something, I always try to immerse myself. And it was the same thing with the Bible. When I started reading the Bible, I'm like, this is the dumbest book ever. Like, there's no way. Like, I know how manipulative I am. I was like, it'd be so easy, but it's so funny because when I asked my wife, I was like, well, do you believe in the Bible? She's like, yeah, 100%. And I'm like, but man wrote it and man is sinful. Man's deceitful. Man can do it. She goes, I never thought of that. And I was like, but that was, again, my whole perception. So whenever you don't believe or you don't something, figure out what is the root and then try to figure out why that is. So for me, it was because, well, I know I'm so deceitful. I know that I manipulate. I know I am. So I could see someone else doing the same thing. So then I was like, okay, cool, great. And like, go read the Bible and prove to yourself all these things that you believe. And the more that I read, I was like, whoa, that's weird. That doesn't really make sense with what I believed. And I kept going and just became more truer and more truer. But it's so easy for us just to say, well, I know because I feel, or I know because of this. And we don't actually come in with that curiosity to try to prove ourselves wrong.
And then you experience the life or the impact of the stories you've told yourself.
You just stay the same. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I actually talked to somebody a couple of weeks back that talked about emotions and how your negative emotions can be your best teachers.
100%.
You have to ask the question, what is this trying to tell me?
Yeah. Or why is this bothering me?
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, the coolest thing, this is one thing that I always ask my clients when we're doing coaching, is when you go to a party, what do you notice in other people? And they'll be like, what? And I'm like, yeah, just think about that. When you go to a party, what is it that you notice? And so then they'll come back. And so just spoiler alert, if anyone does coaching with me, let me know that you already know the story. But the way that this came about is one time my wife and I went to this party and she's like, hey, you really need to go talk to this guy. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I went and talked to the guy, and me being me went to talk to him like, hey man, how are you? And so we started talking. I was like, hey, I heard you're in real estate. He's like, yeah, I'm in real estate. And I'm like, cool. What's your cash on cash return? What's your ROI? Like, I go into all the numbers. He's like, I don't know any of that. And I'm like, well, how do you know if something's a good deal? And he's like, I don't know. I just look at the area, and if it's in this and it does this, then I say, yeah, I go and I buy it. And so we left the party, and while we're driving home, my wife, being amazing as she always is, she's like, oh, what'd you think of that guy? And I was like, well, he's not that smart. She goes, what? And I go, well, he's not that smart. I asked him all these questions and tried to figure out what he knew about real estate. He doesn't even know anything. She goes, I didn't ask you if he would. I was just like, do you like him? And I was like, well, yeah, I guess he's okay. But again, that was all my projection of self. I need people to see me as smart. I needed all these things. So yeah, I would challenge anyone that whenever someone triggers them or whenever they notice something, like notice that that's probably something that's holding you back in so many areas of your life. And I think, I forgot who it was. I was listening to someone talked about like some people have negative connotation to envy as well. Like obviously envy is bad per the Bible and all that, which I agree. But I think it's only bad if we don't do something with it. Obviously we shouldn't envy, but it can't just go away, right? But what we can do is like, oh my gosh, I'm envious, I'm jealous. Why? Because I don't think I am, or because I this, because I whatever. And then we can go down that and start to deal with that so that now don't have to be envious. Like I've done so much work that now if someone's smarter, I'm just like, I don't need to be smart. Like that's not my identity anymore. But that was one of probably the hardest things once I stopped being an engineer and people be like, oh, what do you do? And I'd be like, well, I used to be an engineer. And they'd be like, yeah, they're like, what? No, I'm smart. Because I didn't want to come out and tell people like I'm a coach. Because in my mind, if you're a coach, then you're not smart and you're not successful at all. So I needed this label. See me this way because I don't see myself that way, essentially is the story.
Okay. It's kind of like this idea that when people ask you, what do you do? What they're really asking is, how do I get to quantify you in comparison to me?
In theory, yeah, if that's what the person's actually thinking. But more of it's, I need you to see me this way. Like I know a lot of people and friends that when they go introduce themselves, they do the same thing. They're like, hey, can you tell me about yourself? They're like, well, here's my resume. Like I do this and I am this and I am. And really what they're trying to do is saying, I am this. Can you please tell me that I'm this? I desperately need you to see me this way because I don't believe it. And it's so sad when I see, because I used to do that. But now when I see someone do that, I'm like, oh my gosh, this person just needs to believe in themselves. They just need to feel loved for who they are. They think if they're all these things, then they'll finally have worth, then they'll finally be enough, then they'll finally be loved. So let me just give them love right now.
I like that. I think that's really one of the core things we all want, is that connection and that feeling of the fact 100%. That people think we're important.
Yeah, but I would say that I think most of us want to do something selfishly for ourselves to feel. I want to feel loved, right? Yeah. Which I think is a good first step. But then I think the ultimate step is to get past that of not only I need to feel love, but I need to give love. And when you have a purpose, and I really believe in God and all that when you serve something beyond yourself, you're given so much more than what yourself could create. And that's the beauty. And studying all the stuff that I've done from psychological and from all the neurochemicals of what are feelings, all this, like it all aligns. When you serve others, you're going to be rewarded in a feeling that's so much more than when you just serve yourself. So if anyone really wants to know what it is that they can do to be happier, to have more fulfillment, go serve others. And the ultimate is use the gifts that God, the Creator, has given us to serve and glorify His name. And when you do that, like every day is just so rewarding and it's such a gift because it's no longer about you.
Kind of a freeing kind of a thing, isn't it?
100%. And then that's the other thing. I was just talking to someone the other day that he's like, man, I'm really struggling with lust. And I'm like, kind of like what you're talking about, like, man, I'm still attracted to women and I see it all the time on social media and all this. I'm like, what if you don't have to be the one that solves it? He's like, what? And I was like, man, I remember struggling with something similar. And I'd always be like, I was like, well, what if I just gave it up? That I know I don't have control of this. I know I can't. But through Him, all things is possible. Through His strength, anything's possible. And I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but can you please help me? And then whenever I was like, I want to. Okay, I want to, but what does He want from me? He wants me not to.
Change the context of that.
100%. And it became so much easier. Not that it was just like, oh, okay, now it's gone. But now it wasn't about just my own ability because I couldn't.
So you've done a lot of work on all these different things, self-development. You've changed careers, adopted a career that you have that is meaningful. Do you feel like you've gotten to that place where your life is fulfilled now and that you're going to be able to be successful? What does it look like? Have you reached that point?
I mean, I think it goes back to the definition of mastery. Like my goal at this moment in my life is to try to walk in the footsteps of Jesus. And I know that that's like mastering life. And there's no way I could ever even come close to that. Getting the like it just makes me just so grateful that every day I get the opportunity to try to do that, to try to be a little bit better, to try to be a little more loving, compassionate, caring, like best gift ever.
Yeah, it's an admirable thing to aim at too.
So yeah, like I don't think that I'm at the end, and God willing, I hope I'm not, but pursuing this path and being okay with, I'm never going to get to the destination. I just get the gift to try each day to grow and to be better and to be closer in my relationship with him. Like that's amazing, because by trying and to do and be more connected to him, it allows me to admit and be more love, kinding, compassion towards others. And I think that's the biggest thing is like when I used to just be so focused on myself, like I would judge others, I would do all these things. But now I can see my own sinful nature in other people. Like, so whenever someone does something, like before it used to be judgment, like they're so stupid, like how could they do that? And be like, oh my gosh, I could see how I would do. I've done something similar. But what we try to do is dehumanize them and separate ourselves from others. And that's the worst thing that we can do. What we should really be doing, instead of judging, of being like, oh my gosh, I totally can understand how they would do that because I've done something similar. Because we're all lying if we claim that, you know, we're perfect and we've never done any things that we judge other people for. It's totally not true. Like I've got angry at people. I mean, I was telling someone the other day, I was playing soccer at this place and I was like, man, I remember the time playing soccer here and I got so mad at this kid because he kept trying to chip me that I told the ref and the ref wasn't listening. And so he chipped me after halftime and I just kicked the ball out of bounds and I turned around and I punched him.
Oh, man.
Like, yeah, because I didn't know how to deal with that. No one sat me down. Like, dude, that you could do some breathing work or like this, but like it just overruled me. So when I see people do heinous things in society, I'm like, oh, man, I get that. Yeah. That anger, that hatred, if you keep festering on it and keep letting it grow and grow and grow, it will make you do something that you regret. And that's so sad. So I can understand it. I can't say that I would do the same thing, but maybe if I was in the same situation as that person and I had the same beliefs and I had the same experience in life, I probably would do the exact same thing.
I definitely agree with that. I've seen very many things that I don't like in other people, in myself.
Yeah. And what if that's the gift? What if that's why God created this around? Like, that's what I get from reading the Old Testament. Everyone's like, oh, the Old Testament's terrible. No, the Old Testament's amazing because it shows you all the shortcomings and the sins and the faults of man. And if you just judge every single person, you're like, well, that's so stupid that he did that. I can't believe he did. It's like, what? You're missing it by you denying the sin. You're letting the sin consume you.
So there's a framework that I like to look at other people in. Is that I like to tell myself, there's no way that I know that if I lived their entire life with all their circumstances and the choices they've made up to that point,
the things that's happened to them.
Decision.
100%. I agree with you 100%.
There's no way
and to me, it's the same thing as language, right? If I was grown up in the US, obviously I'm going to speak English. So why would it be someone else come to me, be like, oh, I'm so mad you don't speak Mandarin? Like, I didn't have any opportunity to do anything different.
I didn't grow up in China.
Yeah, but we get mad at them.
Yeah.
But again, it's because we disassociate them as human. We disassociate our own flaws and sinful nature. We come from a place of like, well, I'm better. I would never. I am. Instead of like, oh my gosh, yeah, I could see how I would do that. And I think it goes back to the original sin of like when Adam and Eve sinned, what do? They try to hide. And when all of us try to hide our sinful nature, we let it consume us because we justify it. Well, I was justified to be angry and punch that kid playing soccer because he was a meanie. And I tried to, like, no, dude, like you just got anger and you let that anger take over.
Well, but Eve gave me the fruit, the snake.
Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. We hide from our sin. And I think this is literally what God wants from us, is he actually gave them an opportunity to confess, to repent. That's what he wants. Repent, acknowledge your own shortcomings, acknowledge your own thing, because that's the only way that you can release it and you're no longer a victim of it. But most of us, and I run into this with my kids a lot, like when they do something bad, the shame poisons them. That they'll be like, no, I didn't. Like, yeah, I saw you do it. And they'll just run and hide. And they have to live with that. And so I always try to pull it out of them. Like, hey, just let me know what you did so we can talk about it. I still am going to love you. Like, your shame, like, I literally believe everything in our life, every decision we make is either bringing us closer to God or to your highest version. If you don't believe in God, like your highest version of yourself, or it's pulling you away. And when we hold on to the sin, we hold on to the negative thing, we're being pulled away from what we actually want to become. We're taking that and we're putting it in our backpack, and it's holding us back.
I think you're exactly right with that. One thing
Thank
that
you.
I drew from my depression and my self-loathing that I finally overcame was that my shame was a paralyzing force, and it did not lead me to any kind of action. It
Nope.
kept me from doing.
Yeah, it's a poison. It literally is a poison that will keep you stuck. And that's literally how depression, it starts to isolate. I'm different from everyone else. No one understands me. I'm alone. I'm alone. I'm alone, which literally is pulling you away from God. And so you just become isolated in your room, which is what you feel like doing. I don't feel like anyone understands me. I don't feel like this. I don't feel like going out. I don't feel like communing. I don't feel. And so you trust your feelings, and it disassociates, isolates you, puts you all alone. And then you're left with the worst thing in the world, which is yourself.
Well, I feel like this episode has been packed full of value. If you were to tell someone who was just trying to figure everything out, where would they start?
One of my favorite things for anyone to do is just try to figure out, and maybe you've heard me say this before, but just figure out 3 things you love about yourself. Because most of us don't know what that is. We can list 3,000 things that we hate about ourselves, that we don't like. But if you can't come up with 3 things that you love about yourself, I would totally start there. And if you can't do it, go ask friends, go ask family. There's someone out there that sees you the way that you actually are. And if you can go start to see yourself the same way, like that's literally what I try to do in all my coaching. Like, oh my gosh, Nathaniel, if you could just see yourself the way that I see you, you would do anything that you wanted. But the problem is we see ourselves with these lens of I'm imperfect, I'm this, I'm all these labels. And because of that, therefore I can't. But if you could see yourself with love, you would do anything. Like it's literally the same way we see our kids. I love my kids. So I'm like, yeah, you could be the president. You could do whatever you want. Like it's infinite. So if you can see yourself the same way, you literally will become unstoppable in your life.
Ladies and gentlemen, Creighton Bertrand, thank you so much
for having me, brother.
The insights you gave to us today. This has been the Pot of Gold podcast. We talk about wealth generation, finances, and real estate. But the point of all this is to help you develop your skills so you can become a better business owner, a better person, and just make that impact you want to make. Go fulfill your dreams. Thank you for tuning in.